Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Chapter Tactics, where we go over tactics and strategies to help both new and veteran players alike. I am your host, Magikarp Usefly, and with me today we have, as always, the Demeki.
Hey, y'all. How y'all doing?
And we've also got a John P.
What's up, gamers?
Good talk, everybody. I'm glad that you guys are back. We didn't see you guys last week, but you guys are back. And today we're going to be talking about team tournaments and how to prepare yourself for a team tournament, things that you need to keep in mind, ways that team tournaments work, all that good stuff. We're going to be talking about that in this episode. However, before we get started, this show, as always, is brought to you by FrontlineGaming.org, where you can get amazing game mats for not just your 40K games, but almost any tabletop game out there. Purchase miniatures at a discount and join some of the largest 40K events in the industry. They also have great shows like Signals from the Frontline, Chapter Tactics, which you're listening to right now, Grim After Dark, and so much more. That is FrontlineGaming.org. ACO tickets are available right now, so go pick that up. Cruise Hammer, you can have your kids go on the cruise for free. So go check that out as well. On top of that, if you are joining ACO up until Wednesday, if you purchase your tickets for ACO, you are sent into a raffle. And if you win that raffle, you get a free limo ride from the airport over to the event. So go check that out. It's going to be a good time. Fun times. Cool. All that good stuff. Going on from there, let's get into this topic here about team tournaments. And I think that the first thing that we should do is basically just do a small little roundtable of team tournaments and see what we're talking about here. Demeki, have you been in a team tournament before? And if you have, what did you think about it?
See, Senorita, I have been in a team tournament before. I've been to two. I've been to a Dice Hammer event up in Irvine, California, and I've been to the very first ever Las Vegas team tournament hosted by Frontline Gaming, and that they were both excellent events. It was the actual first two tournaments I ever went to. I had a great time.
Yeah. Team tournaments are like one of the coolest parts about a 40K event if it's available. Man, that was a bad sentence. But a lot of people really like team tournaments. Even Scary has talked about team tournaments. It's like one of the best things that you can play for a 40K event, like a 40K competition. It's just so much fun. Reiterating the same question for you, John P. Have you ever played at a team tournament?
Yeah, so a team tournament I have not been to. Yoda, I am. But yeah, no, I haven't been to a team tournament yet. Have no plans to currently. Mm-hmm. But they sound fun.
Yeah. I think that the team tournament that me and Demeki are going to, I think that you and other people from Dice Check were supposed to go to it, but then plans fell through and stuff like that. And that's one of the things about a team tournament. Like the number one rule of a team tournament is that when you set up a team tournament, more than likely somebody is going to drop out. And that's that's the biggest thing, right, Demeki?
Oh, yeah. So this is how it's exactly how I went to last year's Dice Hammer tournament. So Wyatt shows up, and we met Wyatt for the very first time. Drive up to Irvine to get him from his hotel, and we bring him down. And, I
was there.
Lunch and stuff. And then in the middle of lunch, Mike Haspel calls him and says, hey, they canceled my flight. I can't get a new flight. I'm not going to be able to make it out there. And I was already slotted to go in for Kenny because a couple of days before, Kenny threw out his back trying to pull up his pants.
Just an old man. Just this old man just throws out his back.
Yeah.
I can't play with my toy soldiers. I threw my back out.
Yep. So
we love you, Kenny. Yo, dog. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yo, dog. So I ended up replacing Kenny with Death Guard, and Marky ended up replacing Mike Haspel with his Death Watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It
ended up being a really good time, though. I didn't know anything about team tournaments, and then I got there and I learned a lot about team tournaments.
All right, cool. So then, we can we'll lean on you for the information here, just a tad bit. But before we do that, we should probably go over the rulings for a team tournament for people that haven't been to a team tournament. They don't know what to expect or how this works out. just as a general guideline, most team tournaments are going to be 5 players. So your team will consist of 5 people. From there, armies are limited to 1 book per player. There are team tournaments where they will separate things out, like things like in the Dice Hammer team tournament. If you bring something like Corsairs or Harlequins, it doesn't break the rule for taking an Eldari army. So you can, you just have to read the rules on that one. But usually it's each player gets 1 book, basically. So you have that. And then after that, then you have a system that you're doing here where step 1, teams roll off. The winner chooses the first table for their defender to play on. The loser chooses the second table. There are 5 different tables in total. 1 to 2 will be like heavy terrain, medium terrain, and light terrain. All that stuff. Both teams then put a defender player and army list forward simultaneously. After the team captain sees the defender, they choose 2 attackers to match up with against the defender, and this is done both simultaneously. After that, the defender chooses one of the attacker army lists to play against. So, they give you 2 defenders and they're like, I want that army to fight against. And then that's the army that you're going to fight against. And then you just repeat the process until all the attackers are chosen and everybody gets a person to play their toy soldiers with. And
I can't remember if it's attacker or defender, but I think it's defender gets to choose the table as well. So they get to pick who they fight against and what table they fight on. So you get a slight advantage. But every tournament's different too. Dice Hammer has, I believe, set terrain. It looks like from their document, their new updated document, they're not doing player optimized terrain where at the Las Vegas team tournament last year.
No, they are.
They are?
Yeah.
They're doing player optimized terrain?
Yeah.
Okay. And Las Vegas team tournament last year was the first time that I did player optimized terrain for FLGs. But if Dice Hammer's doing it now, that's awesome. More likely though, probably it's not going to be the same like ITC terrain that they use at FLG events, because it was different from last year's when I went.
Yeah, and just a quick note here. So when you roll off to see who's the attacker or defender, if you win the roll off, you are the defender, and if you lose the roll off, then you're the attacker. And the person that loses that roll off is the one that chooses the second table. So I guess not attacker defender, just the other defender. It's weird verbiage.
Alternates.
Yeah, it's weird verbiage. Yeah. So that's like the general idea about a team tournament. It's all based on which team has the most amount of wins. And then, like a singles tournament, right? If you have the most amount of wins, then, you're higher in the standings. And then from there, tiebreakers are decided by point values that you gain throughout the, your whole team and stuff like that. So just keep that in mind. But that's the general basis when it comes to a team tournament. John P., what do you think about that? Like, already hearing all this information, how does that feel for you when you're playing 40K and to have those options available to you?
Yeah, sounds cool. Very reminiscent of Champ Select from professional League of Legends.
Yeah.
Definitely. It puts players in a position where they get to choose what they get to play against and what kind of table they get to play on. So if you have one player, let's say playing knights, and they really want like light terrain, you can set them up like that, give them light terrain, and then set them up against an army where they will feel more comfortable against, rather than being like, oh yeah, here's Tau with a bunch of railguns.
Yeah.
And I'm knights.
Yeah. When it came to like League of Legends, like for pro play and stuff like that, the champ select and the pick ban phase was like my favorite part of the entire game. Like I didn't even care what happened during the game. The pick ban phase was like my favorite part of the entire like tournament scene for League of Legends. Is that like the same thing for you, John P., or did you like more playing the game more?
Watching, there was like the mind games happening.
Watching,
like, and then like sometimes you'll see in champs like where they do like the banning phase, and then like one champion got through that like is always banned.
Yeah.
because because one player on the other team is very specialized in one champion, so they have to ban that one champion, and then the super OP champion that patch gets through, and everyone gets excited because they get to actually see it happen.
Yeah.
Then, first pick, and then you're like, oh my god, this Bjergsen's playing Zed. Oh my god, it's happening.
Yeah, dude, it's
hype.
Yeah, it's really hype. I really like it. It adds a lot of hypeness to like the game when you start playing it. What about you, Demeki? Did you like, the pick ban phase when it came to League of Legends stuff? We're talking about League of Legends when it's 40K, but like there's a crossover here,
Yeah. No, I did enjoy the pick ban phase, bro. But I haven't played ranked in so long, so like. Like my experience with the pick ban phase probably ended with like season 4, but yeah, no, I did enjoy it. It was a lot of fun, especially to see like what your opponents ban, because they're gonna alt tab and go look at your play history and see what you're supposed to be good with, and then try to ban that out.
Yeah, no, and that's what's so cool about a team tournament is that you have that phase of a pick ban phase. Games like Marvel Crisis Protocol has like kind of like the same system where you have like a squad of people that you can choose from and draft your own team depending on your matchup, and just having that flexibility I feel like is so cool for 40K, because usually it's like, well, I brought this to be an all-rounder army. I hope that I get to face something that doesn't like absolutely skew into me and kill me, So you have like that a little bit of of leeway there, right? Which is nice. Yeah.
And you get to see some weird lists come out.
Yeah. Lots
definitely
of skew
because of that.
Oh
yeah, definitely. That's one thing I like about team tournament meta is that it breaks the actual normal meta that we're used to seeing.
Definitely, yeah, because almost anything is viable at a team tournament, right? You can't just yes, you can bring the most strongest armies and just be like, okay, we have all the strongest armies, let's see what happens. But then somebody will just come up with like some type of skew meta list game or anti-meta list where it'll be something so hard for a certain army to fight against, and then you're just screwed. Right? Because they planned for it. It's really cool. So I guess that brings us to our first topic here, which is, the armies that you want to play, the armies that you that your team wants you to play and stuff like that, and then understanding what armies are good into like those matchups for those armies that you're choosing, right? So, how would you guys think about setting up your team, like constructing your team of like what armies you guys can play?
Well, first I would find some friends, at least 4 of them, more of them, and be like, "Hey,
that's the hard part.
Armies you got?" And then kind of go from there. I mean, because like the worst thing, or unless somebody's really good at it, the worst thing you could do to somebody would be like, "Hey, play this army. I know you never played it before. Also, you don't own any of it. Build it and paint it."
Yeah,
that hurts. A couple weeks ago.
You have 9 Voyage Beavers, right? It's in your backlog.
Yeah,
chilling?
Yeah, you got that right.
Yeah, you can do that, right?
Yeah.
you don't mind painting those checker patterns, right? All right, go for it. Go, you go do it, dude. So you know what? What about you, Jumpy? Like, but obviously it should be what armies people have available. But how would you go about, facing a team tournament, and like what army would you want to bring?
Yeah, I think in a perfect world where I had access to everything.
Yeah.
let's say we're doing a team tournament on Tabletop Simulator.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah. Sure.
Let's enter that world.
Okay.
I think bringing like an anti-meta list, very specific against maybe like one super meta build that people are bringing. Would be interesting. I think, for example, I'm seeing people talking about bringing a new shield host for Custodes. I forgot the exact name of it, like Emeratus Imperatus or something. One of the army traits for that shield host is that you can ignore any or all hit modifiers in the shooting phase, or actually no, in your hit roll for shooting or melee, which would be very useful against something like light Sadith Harlequins.
Yeah.
And with that you could bring like a more shooty Custodes list, like with Sagittarium, maybe some Venatari, some Dreads. So you could hit those sneaky Harlequins on 2s instead of 4s.
Dude, that would also be really good against Drakari with like Venom spam and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Anything that's going to give -1 lightning fast reactions. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? I ignore it. It's such a good army trait. I ignore it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be honestly that it's not just light Saith, I guess. It'd be like you said, Jakari, even Eldar. Just anti-elf Custodes list.
Yeah, like one of the cool things about a team tournament is that it's not just you playing that, it's not just you facing all these armies. Like you can create this skew list that goes specifically into these matchups that you feel like are going to be a problem for your team, and just be like, yeah, I totally built for this, so I'm going to fight this like easy, hands down, because I built for this specific matchup and not have to worry about other things like, oh, I do really poorly into something like, I don't know, freaking 150 racks or something like that. Like, like I don't beat that. I don't beat that. But you know what? I sure as heck beat Tau, like, something like that.
Yeah. Sorry, I just want to correct myself. The shield host is Emissaries Imperatus, and the trait is you can ignore modifiers for the hit roll and the wound roll. So even better.
Oof, even better.
Woo.
Yeah.
You ignore that -1 that the Shadow Seer gives off.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. What about you, Demeki? Like, what armies would you want to play more of for a team tournament? Right? Like, because there's different roles, right? There's like, you have your anchor, which is the army that's going to do well into all matchups. Like, that's like your all-comer list, right? You have like your skew list that you can run. You have your more specific matchups, trying to figure out this is the army that I want to run for this specific terrain setup. Like, where do you land on that spectrum? Do you want to be the anchor?
I don't know because because of the 2 events that I went to. So the first event, I fell on the sword every match. I took all the Drakari matches since I was playing Death Guard. I took the Admech matches. So I went like 0-5 at that event. And then the next event, I played Drakari and I went 3-3. And I enjoyed both. Because like the Death Guard list was kind of like a vampire list. Like it was meant to suck points away from your opponent, right? And not necessarily win, but if you win, it's like, hey, yeah, I pulled out a dub for the team. And then my Drakari list was meant to be very like meta and win, right? And it was meant to score high as possible because like even if your team does win, when it comes down to tiebreakers, they still look at points. So like it's always still best when you're building your team tournament army to build into secondaries that you know you're going to be able to score high consistently. So like the 2 different play styles, I mean, I liked them both. So but if for this upcoming one, I'm going to be playing Tau, so I'm going to be probably trying to tech into as many points as possible.
Yeah, and like the thing is that for people that don't know what it means to fall on the sword, that just means that you have a designated player and army that is going to go into the matchups that you know that your team cannot deal with. So, if you know that your team cannot deal with something like Tau, then you just take somebody that can soak up points, make sure that they are getting the most amount of points as they possibly can, siphoning points from their opponent, and just kind of like choking them to the point of like being like, oh yeah, you're going to score less points against me because my army is meant to make it so then it's harder for you to get points, right? And like if you win, that's great. If you don't win though, that's fine. That goes with the plan. It's like setting your expectations at a low bar. And so from there you can only go upwards. And that's what's so great about falling on a sword. John P, would you want to fall on the sword? That sounds like fun. Yeah, right?
It's fun, honestly. I'm just like, man, you guys look stressed.
Yeah.
I'm just over here having a good time. I brought 4 knights. I'm soaking up points.
Yeah, dude.
My movement phases are so fast. I'm done in like an hour. I can go grab a drink right after my game.
Yeah, dude. Like, it sounds like so much fun being the person that just gets to fall on the sword. I would have anxiety being like the anchor. I'd be like, oh, I have to perform? Dang. That's
Oh, I can't take Rod because then I only scored 97. We need the full 100.
Yeah. No. How dare they? How dare they? So moving on from here. So you first off, you have to figure out what armies you want to play, right? What armies you guys have available. Obviously, if you're going to the event to have fun, understand that it is a tournament. So, if you do go there and you're looking to have fun, understand that it is a tournament and that you will more than likely see a sweaty list every once in a while. So don't get upset about that. But if you are joining an event and, you're playing with your friends and a group of people that you know of and, you know what armies you're going to run, the next thing that you have to do is decide who's going to be the team captain and the coach, because those are roles that you actually have to think about. Demeki, do you want to explain what the captain does and what the coach does? Because there's a significant difference between the two.
Yeah. So a captain is completely necessary. The team captain is the spokesperson of the team. They're the ones that they put up the attackers and defenders. They're the ones that do the official roll off between the other team. They're also responsible for inputting their team members into best coast pairings. They make sure that the proper scores results are submitted. And they're the ones that call over the judge and they have the relevant documentation on hand for the judges. Excuse me. Coaches are not necessary. You can have a coach, but a coach is even more limited than a captain. A coach does not play at all. They may assist with pairings and advice and the game pertaining to a team level strategic information. So if team members are winning or losing their games, they can tell the other members that. And then they can tell you how many points a player is hoping to pick up. They can call over a judge and have relevant documentation on hand for the judge, but they cannot advise on any tactical choices for a player or interact with clocks or comment on rules. Yeah. So if you see someone who is a coach and they're doing any of those things, just tell them to go get a judge or get the TO.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a hype man almost, right? It's like, get hype. Yeah, you're gonna win this. Yeah. You got this. Hype man.
Yeah.
Hey, we need you to score 97, by the way. You got this, baby.
Yeah, you got this, baby. Let's go, Atlantic City, baby.
I would say if you are a coach and you're coaching and your team asks or someone on your team asks, like, hey, how many wins do we have so far? Because, like, it's information that's information that can lead to, whether, like, it is a relief while you're playing.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like that's something that needs to be like passed. Like, it doesn't need to be, it needs to be like almost whispered because, like, it could affect the other person.
Yeah. It's mentally, getting to like gamey territory at that point. Right. Yeah. Understandable. John P, what would you want to be? Would you rather be the captain or the coach? Look at me. I'm the captain now.
I would not like to be the captain. It sounds actually, I mean, if I'm a captain and I have a coach, I'd be down with that. But if I'm just the captain and there's no coach, then too much pressure.
Yeah.
Not my kind of thing, to be honest with you. I'd be down to be a coach though. Like, I'd walk around with like my suit with like a clipboard, just yelling at people to roll better.
Why'd you roll a 2? Why'd you roll a 2? You hit on 3s, idiot.
God. Come on. 6s.
Just slap somebody. There's no 1s in this dojo.
Yeah, no. I completely understand that. When it comes to like a captain standpoint, just because it's so scary. It's a lot of pressure. Cause like, you're not just looking at what you are doing as a player. You're like, if you set up a bad matchup for your team, then all of a sudden it's like, it's
Yeah,
on
that's on
me,
you.
isn't it?
Yeah.
That's on you.
Yeah.
Hey, you were supposed to win that one. How come the final score is 20-97?
Did,
What
did
happened here?
yeah, what happened?
What happened?
did we mess up? Did I pair you up incorrectly?
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
that kind of harkens back to like League of Legends again, right? Like when coaches, because like even they have coaches for the pick ban phase. That's how important the pick ban phase is, right? So when it comes to like being the captain of a team tournament, there's so much pressure on you because you're just like, I hope that this is a good matchup and I know what my players can do. And if it doesn't work out, this isn't like best of 3. This is a one-way street. Like it's either we win by a mile or we lose by 10 miles, right? Yeah, it sucks.
All right. All right. You're good at playing Rumble, right? You're going Rumble top. I've never played
Rumble in my life.
Well, you're playing Rumble top today.
Yeah. It's cool. I like it. I think it's interesting. I like the whole captain and coach dynamic and everything like that. Did Demeki, when you guys played, did you guys have a coach or was it just the captain?
No, it was just the captain. Wyatt was our captain, captain. There were teams. I only saw one team with a coach. I didn't really see too many coaches out there. Normally the captains were the ones pretty much doing everything. The one team that did have a coach, super nice guy, offered to get like water and stuff. Yeah.
Just a hype man.
Yeah, he was the hype man.
I could see like the team coach being like kind of a distraction for like other teams that don't have coaches, like just imagine just one team just having a guy cheering them on the whole time and like all the other teams are kind of just like demoralized,
Yeah.
It can be like that in a sense, especially since Warhammer kind of is like you can kind of treat it like golf in a sense where it should be kind of like people are expected to act a certain way.
Yeah, no one's gonna be you don't
spirit of the game crap and stuff like that,
Yeah. Yeah, no.
John P, I want you to be my coach so that like when you're like, are you thirsty? I'll be like, yes, coach, can I please have some water? And then you just come back with a huge cup of water and throw it in my face.
Yeah.
Like,
now get out there and roll some 5-ups.
Just moral of the story, just bring your mom. Just bring your mom and then have her be the hype man for your tournament with toy
I brought
soldiers.
some cut up fruit, my dear.
Yeah, I got some.
I brought tangerine slices for everybody.
Yeah, some.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. Pick me up at 8, yeah.
So moving on from there, how would you how would you assign somebody to fall on the sword? Like, is that something that you think of right away, like when you are building your roster of players and armies that they're running, or do you just figure that out during the matches? Like, how did you guys go about that, Demeki?
So we did it during the matches, so like every single time. So it was kind of like what ended up happening most of the time was that Drukari or Admech got put forward. So then like they always picked the Death Guard matchup. So because we're slow and like they're like, we're gonna hop on these objectives or we're gonna shoot you to death. And like I got picked every single time because I'd be like, all right, put me forward. Or if I got put forward, and then I got the option of whether I had to play Drukari or Admech, then like I would pick that obvious choice just because like I wasn't familiar with the list that I was piloting anyways. And I just wanted to help out the rest of the team with the rest of the armies that we did have. And it did work out. Like we ended up going even like 3-3 or we went 3-2, something like that.
Yeah.
Like it always happened at matchup. Like we didn't plan it that way. It just happened to go that way.
Gotcha. What about the next time though? Like did you figure out a person to fall on the sword the next time?
The next time, let me see. So I fell on the sword twice because of the matchups, but they were also favorable matchups for me. But like for most of the other players, they weren't. So like I fell on the sword, but I just barely lost those matches. And then I think Mike ended up falling on the sword the most with Grey Knights during that event. and like Wyatt and Kenny were definitely the anchors.
Yeah.
And Zach was supposed to be an anchor too. Like it was like when we first went in, we weren't expecting Kenny to like win as much. We were counting on Wyatt to be an anchor, and then like after the first day, it was like Kenny and Wyatt were the anchors, and then so it was just up to me or Zach to pull out a W so that we would win that round, right?
Yeah.
And we just had some really really bad matchups on the first day.
Yeah. So do you want to, John P, is there anything that you want to add on to that or anything like that? Like how you, cause I have a question for Demeki that I was going to go over. But yeah, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's like, cause like you need 3 wins to win your round. So I think it's, nice to have like, you know, those 2 solid guys and then maybe like 1 skew guy, pull out a W, but, that was kind of what was going on through my mind as Demeki was telling the story. But yeah, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah. I was just gonna ask. So how does it work? Where you know, when you're playing your games, is it after it's because there's 5 teams, right? Five teams versus or five players versus 5 players, right?
Right.
So is it just like best of 3 out of those 5, and then that counts as a single win, or does it count as like 3 wins for that team?
So it's 3. So I'm not 100% positive how the point system or how they track it, but you need 3 wins out of the 5 players that round to win the round. At least 3. If like you get 4 or 5, that helps you towards the end, right? Because you might have tiebreakers that come up. So like everybody's like all these teams won all these rounds, but this team is like, you know, they went 5-0 2 rounds or 4-1 or whatever, right? And then that's when the points part of it kicks in to kind of handle all these tiebreakers. Because there are, at a team tournament, there will be tiebreakers. There will be a lot of teams that you know have 1 loss or no loss throughout all 5 to 6 rounds, depending upon you know what the event's doing. For Dice Hammer, it's 2 days, 5 rounds or 5 matches, right? And then LVTT was 2 days, 6 games, I believe. So, yeah, it all depends upon the event and the TO and how their packet is worded.
Gotcha.
I think that answers your question, right?
Yeah. I think so. I don't know. I blacked out, like always. I just zone out nowadays. I'm kidding. So for sponging an army, John P, how would you create like a spongy army? If you are thinking about like falling on the sword.
Sponging an army. The first army that came to mind, honestly, was Nids in GT 2021 and GT 2020, where the lictor could just come in and give you a free 12 points. For Rod, and you could just suck off as many points.
Suck off as
phrasing.
Many points.
You could just essentially, you know, suck up as many points as possible. You're gonna score points. You're probably not gonna win, but you're gonna score points, and that helps out with the tiebreaker. That's the first army that came to mind. Sorry.
It's all good. When it comes to like soaking up an army, you know, you're looking at things like it's not just if the army can score high, it's also can it dampen how many points your opponent can get, right? So, you know, we're looking at things where you can get a really, really high score compared to your opponent, or make it so that your opponent doesn't score as much. So we're looking at things like control armies, right? Like we're looking at things like Thousand Suns, which is a control army. Grey Knights is a control army. Like if you had to give a synonym to those types of armies, it's almost like a blue deck, right? It's like we are going to do stuff that we want to do, and we're going to control the pace of this game, and we're going to control how many points you can get off of us and how many points we can get off of you. Whether you win or lose, it's just a good way to sponge up things, right?
Yeah, like a 3 PBC Death Guard build is really good for team tournaments because like they can focus on the units that are the squishy units that are on those primary objectives, right? And just fire your opponent off. So then like they're not gonna get their 4 or 8 or 12 during their turn. They gotta, shuffle things around. Like DG may not win that match, but they are going to hold the opponent to a smaller point game than what they normally probably would get.
Yeah, because that matchup in general that they're fighting against, it could be like an unfavorable matchup. So like we're looking at armies that aren't in the meta, like what we were talking about before, and we're looking at armies that can do specific things very well in order to make sure that your team does well overall, right? And I find that absolutely fascinating for a team tournament. I would love to have more team tournaments just like in general because of that. Because right. And then like for your skews, like the skews don't even have to be something where it's like this will kill this or this army absolutely dumpsters on this X army. You could do stuff where it's like stat checks. Can your army fight against 150, hard to kill chaff? No? All right, put me up against them, right? It's a nice little it's cool. Demeki, how did you guys handle like the attacker portion of it, and putting like knowing what armies to put up next to bait things out?
So that normally came up to us kind of like discussing, especially like Wyatt and Kenny and them, since they've been playing for so long, right? It's kind of neat to see how players at that caliber and have been playing for so long think. Right. So like most of the time they would kind of like whenever they needed me to do something, they would be like, hey, this all fine. Like, are you okay with this matchup? Like, because we're going to put you and so forward. We're pretty sure they're going to pick you. Is this okay? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Whatever. I don't care. I'm just here to have fun. It's just, I'm just here to drink beer and throw dice. And yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is. Like, it's always in the heat of the moment, because like no matter how much planning you do, you're not gonna know really how things are gonna go until you're there and it's happening, right? Mm-hmm. And like the guys normally I would just sit back and let them kind of like do their thing, listen to what they'll talk about. When it came to the attackers, it would always be like if it was a bit like something beneficial for like two armies, they would put both armies forward so that like maybe one of the armies would catch another benefit like later on, or we would put two forward knowing that they were going to have to select one and probably that would be them falling on the sword for them, and then we would immediately put the other army up next, right? Mm-hmm. So that they would still just have to go ahead and answer it. It all depends upon the matchups. It's so unique. It really is like the band pick phase of League of Legends, right?
Yeah. It sounds cool. So when you are building these lists and these armies, how do you guys like what would you guys do to prepare yourselves for a team tournament? Because you're not going up against, and you don't have to make an all-comers list, but how are you like figuring out how you're going to build your army compared to like something like a GT where, it's only on you, you know what I mean? So like if you are playing something like, let's say Tyranids, right? And you're teching, you don't want to tech for like Tau or something, like how would you guys, this is a terrible question.
I think I see where you're trying to go.
Yeah.
So like in a normal tournament, you tech for the meta, right? You try to bring in all comers list. Mm-hmm. When it's a team tournament, you can build differently. Yeah, you can build an all comers list, but in a team tournament, your army, you should be able to say, I am going to do these two secondaries no matter what, and then my third secondary is my question mark. Like I need to be able to pick between two other things as my third secondary.
But that's like going with any game that you play, right? Like you should be doing that anyways.
Sure. Yeah. But But like what I'm saying is that since it's a team tournament, like you don't have to go for that all rounder build, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So like you can tech into other things that would be more beneficial for a secondary that most people might not see.
Gotcha.
Well, I think I'm trying to get at.
Oh, okay. So you're saying like build a list where you are going to be taking secondaries that other people wouldn't be expecting, like something like deploy teleport homers or something like that, and kind of just catch your opponent off guard that way. Gotcha.
Right.
Okay. All right. John P, how would you build an army out of like the armies that you have? How would you build it for a team tournament? Like, would you build it differently, or would you just take something that you normally would take to a singles tournament?
I think I would build differently. I guess if I was, excuse me, I guess if I was to play something like Space Wolves, I would just lean super heavy into just playing super aggro, in your face melee, as expected from Space Wolves. And then hopefully my team captain understands what I'm playing and sets me up against armies that I can beat.
Another Space Marine army.
Yeah, nothing like don't put me against Tower or Custodes, please. But that's how I would play. I would definitely lean into a skew. I wouldn't really be interested in playing an all-comers list. I think that kind of defeats the purpose of a team tournament, especially since you have the knowledge of knowing what you get to go up against.
Yeah. Now, this is a question that I'm very interested in. Is how long do you guys have to see what your opponents are bringing inside their list to come up with the matchups that you think are favorable for armies?
Oof, that is so how long is this phase? It's I want to say that because it's still the normal allotted time. Well, the time's a little bit different.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember exactly how much time it was, but like I want to say most teams it takes probably about 10 to maybe
hour.
No.
To an episode of Law and Order.
Well, so this is what happens. Normally, we start looking at that as soon as they drop who you're going up against in BCP.
Yeah.
So you get a little bit of leeway going into that matchup, and we just look at the armies first. And then, like, if it's a particular army that, we're like, oh, wow, we haven't seen that in a while. What is their list? Then we'll dig into the list, right? Because most of the time you'll see kind of the same trends with certain armies. Like Death Guard, 3 PBCs. I think I saw 3 PBCs all the time.
Yeah.
Or I saw, you're going to see Plagueburst Crawlers and probably Contemptors now. But, like, every single time I saw 2 to 3 PBCs, so we already knew that. And then you kind of just look at that and say, okay, well, they're probably going to do this, that, or you get to the table and everybody's making their way over, and then you see their army in their tray, and you're like, oh, okay, let me look at this list.
Yeah,
because like that's not normal.
What is this? This is Kangaroo Court. Yeah. So basically you just have like a little bit of time allotted to kind of look at the different armies and try to figure out like what's happening in that army to decipher who's going to be playing into what matchup, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
So that actually puts in a lot of strain, right, to the captain, because at that point the captain has to know not only what are good matchups just in general, but also being able to look at a list of their enemy, of the enemy team, and being like, 5 lists, and being like, this matchup is good for this person, this matchup is good for this person, this one is good for this person, depending, you actually have to have a lot of knowledge as a captain or a coach.
Yeah. And hope maybe that some of your teammates, maybe play that army, and then they can also enlighten you on like what they do, right? I remember when while we were at Dice Hammer, Custodes came up, and nobody had played new against new Custodes, and I think I only played against John P like once with new Custodes, and I was just like, dude, I know they hurt. So like I'll definitely fall on that sword. Like put me forward. If he takes me, he'll probably take me.
I volunteer as
like,
tribute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean you rely on your knowledge as the captain, but you're hoping that your teammates can also supply you with the knowledge that you don't have, right?
Yeah. Like if you, so it's probably best if you have your players, you can even like split the amount of armies that they should be learning, like the matchups and stuff. So then they could be like, oh, I know this matchup. I know these units. Don't worry about it, Captain. Just I'll fight it. I should be fine against it. Like something like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's like oh, I should be able to fight it, and then like in case, because it's always 2, right? So some people might be wise. Like if it's 2, they'll be like, all right, well, he gave me a definite lose, because sometimes it's just rock, paper, scissors. And then they gave me a maybe I can win. So then, even though we know that you're the one that can win, like they're probably going to pick the other one because they feel like they can actually like maybe win that matchup.
Yeah. John P.
Yeah.
Are you a winner, or are you somebody that falls on the sword? Or are you both?
I'll go in there and give it my 110%. Do it for my coach. Do it for my team. I wake up every morning and thank God that I have this opportunity to play.
Yeah.
Keep
Okay.
going. Why'd you stop?
That's what a PR person told me to say.
So another cool thing about these team tournaments is that there's different terrain setups, right? You have like your light terrain setup, you have your heavy terrain setup, you have your medium terrain setup. How does that play into your guys' ideas of how you guys build your armies? Like, when you look into that, and then like what table you want to select, are you going to build a list where you're just like, I want the lightest terrain possible, like just 1 crate, and I will be fine? Like, how does that work out? Demeki or Jumpy. No, Jumpy.
I was gonna say, I think terrain comes probably one of the bigger factors if for, I guess, especially when you get set forward as a defender. Like I mentioned before, let's say I'm playing Space Wolves. Obviously, I want the heavy terrain, and I would hope my team captain would put me as a defender on that set of terrain. Either that or set me as one of the 2 attackers on the heavy terrain. So, and on the other side, if you're playing something like Knights or Tau, you would want to be on the light terrain. Get all those shooting lanes, and hopefully, team captain recognizes that, sets that up.
Jumpy, listen, all right, you're playing Space Marines, so we're gonna put you up against Tau, and we're gonna put you on light terrain. All right, is that cool with you, Jumpy? Yeah. Would you like that?
Yeah, I'm gonna go in there and give it 110%, coach.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
and like, I feel like that this camaraderie that we're having, like, even though we're like joking around right now, that's like the camaraderie for a team tournament, right? Like, we're just always having fun, whether you win or lose, because you have people to talk to, and it's not just yourself. Because you guys have been to events and stuff already. Like, did it like at regular events when it wasn't a team tournament? Did you feel like isolated at all? Like, did that feeling ever come up to you?
Nah. Like everybody, like since I was with the Longboard guys, like everybody knows them.
No. I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about like team tournaments. I'm talking about like for regular events where it's just like single people, right? Like, did you ever feel isolated during a match?
John P would know. I wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily isolated. I mean, I guess we went to singles tournaments with like a group of friends, so we would all just meet up at location and be like, "Hey, did you guys win? Hey, good job. You lose? Next time, champ." You know? I mean, that level of camaraderie definitely isn't there. Because you're kind of just in your own head. You're kind of just in your own zone trying to figure out what to do next. Yeah. It's definitely interesting in the little pregame, the 15-minute section when you gotta walk to your table and you're like, hey, what'd you get? Oh, I got Drukari again. And the other guy's like, oh, I got Crusher Stampede.
I got Orcs again. I got Freebooters.
I got a Rock. But yeah, that's I think that's one of the more fun parts of events is hearing how your friends did and that's all a team tournament is. You're
Yeah.
you're playing with your friends, and just you get to rely on your friends, and you get to enjoy it all with your buds.
Yeah.
Camaraderie.
Yeah. What about you, Demeki?
You know, I because the only single event that I've been to, I was working. I think like if I went to a singles event, I would want to just get like a loss and get it out of the way. So like get the loss, shotgun a Truly, or like chug a warm Smirnoff Ice, and then just go
That
into
sounds
the
disgusting.
next match,
That sounds awful.
ready to go. Like
Yeah.
There, I'll ice you at your next event.
yeah.
I'm gonna sneak in and just stick one in your tote bag.
Oh,
Can you grab me a tape measure?
Oh yeah, sure, dude. Oh, what's this? It's a warm Smirnoff Ice. I gotta drink it. You gotta drink it. You have to.
You have to. It's the thing.
Yep.
All right.
Iced.
Cool. So I think that we've hit like almost every topic that we need to talk about here. I don't want to like beat the horse more dead than it already is, right? But that's that. Let's do a roundtable of what we think about team events. If we're interested about joining team events, how we would want to join team events, just like a roundtable of what we feel about it. We can start with Demeki.
I love them. I think that it's the path forward it's one of the big paths forward for competitive play for Warhammer. It like I said before, it introduces branding and different levels of the different levels to the game. Yeah, I'm a big proponent. I love it.
And then you could be like, oh, we're up against Art of War. Okay, I'll fall on the sword against Richard Siegler. Who's going to fall on the floor against John Lennon?
I will fall
All right,
on Richard Siegler.
Yeah, who was going to fall on the sword for Siegler, Lennon, and Perry? Those three.
Yeah.
Who's falling on the sword? And then we'll try to pull W's on everyone else, maybe.
And then Chester and then
Yeah.
Harper. Oh, wait. I think we're out of people.
Yeah, I think that we just fall on all 5 swords here, guys. I think that's what's happening. What about you, Jumpy?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like second everything that Demeki said, branding, all that fun stuff. It's definitely a very fun way to just spend a weekend with your buds. I mean, I would be nervous going to my first one if I had to be like a team captain, especially. I think if I were to go to one, I would prefer going to one where other people have been there, or going with people who actually like really understand the meta. That way, like, you know, the whole team isn't having a bad time, or like we're just all being put into bad situations because we don't understand the meta, you know?
Yeah, Marines go up against Tau on light terrain. That's how it works, right?
That's how it works.
Yeah,
And then Custodes, heavy terrain.
Yeah.
They all have 2 damage weapons. It's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I think regardless, like, especially your first any kind of event, you should just not really have too high of expectation. You're gonna lose.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. You know, we're not Art of War or anything like that. So, let's go in there, expect to have a good time at the very least.
Definitely, yeah. And I think that to reiterate kind of like what John P said, is that whenever you're going to a tournament, you should always look to have a good time, always have like a fun time at your events and everything like that. And then at a team tournament, it's just more of that, right? I absolutely love the format for team tournaments. I do know that the cost for running a team tournament is very high, and it's hard to run them, especially in places where like you live over in like flyover states, right? Where you're already having a hard time getting to GTs and like finding RTTs at that point. And having a team tournament, it's like even worse at that, you know, because then you have, instead of just, you know, 20 players, now you multiply that by 5, right? Then you need, you know, if you want 20 teams, yeah, it's 100 people that you need for 20 teams. It's a lot. So, you know, take that with what you will. I absolutely love team tournaments. I think that they're bad, but anyways,
bad to the bone.
That is it for this episode of Chapter Tactics. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you guys liked it, please leave a comment, press the subscribe button, press the like button, all that good stuff. Demeki, where can they find you?
Underneath an overpass, and on Twitch at Dice Check and Demeki.
Sick. And John P, where can they find you?
Yelling at Demeki
In the background.
in the background.
Yeah.
At a team tournament.
Yeah. And then you can find me yelling at John P to yell at Demeki at a team tournament. So that's it for today's episode. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye, everybody.
We love you. Bye-bye.
See you.